Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Virginia SBDC's webinar series, Google and Beyond, Marketing and Managing on the Web. This series is designed to take a look at tools and techniques to help small businesses take their business to the next level. Today's webinar, and the last one of 2014, is Social Media Marketing Predictions for 2015. All of our webinars are presented by Ray Sidney Smith, web and mobile strategist, author of So Low Mo Success, Social Media, Local, and Web Small Business Marketing Strategies Explained, and president of W3 Consulting. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type those questions into the question window, and Ray will do his best to answer them. Without further ado, here's Ray Sidney Smith.
Thank you, Tracy, and thank you to the Virginia SBDC Network for having me here on Beyond Google Marketing and Managing on the Web. I can't believe that 2014 is coming to a close. It feels like just yesterday that it began. And so today's discussion, as Tracy said at the top, is social marketing predictions for small business in 2015. And so just a couple of minor housekeeping items, as Tracy talked about. If you have questions, please ask them now. This is why we do these webinars. We're here for you, and we want to make sure that we answer questions that you have along the way. So just raise your hand using the hand raise function, or shoot a message in the question panel to Tracy, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. And next up, if you have questions after this, feel free to go ahead and send those messages at W3 Consulting on wherever you might be, but Twitter is probably the easiest one for me to be able to respond to. But go ahead and follow us, and go ahead and question us at W3 Consulting, hashtag that Beyond Google, and I'll know that this is about the webinar stuff. Also, go ahead and follow at Virginia SBDC, and that way you can find out about the upcoming webinars and all the other great information that Virginia SBDC has coming out for you over the coming year and years. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's kick into the agenda for today. We're going to go over really an overview of 2014. I just want to highlight 2 or 3 things that were really big things for me, and I hope that they'll be important for you over the next year in 2014. So the ICYMI is the, in case you missed it, 2014 edition. And then we'll talk about social marketing predictions for 2015. And what I've done is I've just culminated about 20, not about, I've culminated 20 different predictions that I've made for 2015, and or that I've found from different and various sources that I think would be of importance to small businesses. And then we'll go into Q&A. Of course, by all means, I'm gonna fill the allotted time. So we're gonna talk right through the 20 of them. But feel free to ask questions. Please interact and ask questions as you have them. So we'll give you a couple of minutes at the end in order to be able to ask questions as well. Okay. So in case you missed it, 2014. First up, we have Twitter. Twitter launched the ability to buy from a tweet. If you didn't know, or if you're not on Twitter, this means that Twitter allows you to be able to set up, I mean, primarily this is going to be much larger brands, but if you have the budget for this, Twitter allows the ability for you to actually click a buy button, and you can actually purchase directly from a tweet. I mean, that's huge, huge in the market, and I think it's really important for us all to realize that the barrier to payment online and on mobile is reducing so much, and I'll talk about that later. But I just thought that was really, really a huge one. Next up is Google and Apple both launched new phones, ginormous ones. I'm not sure if anybody out there has an iPhone 6 or 6 Plus, which I've been calling the mini iPad mini, and the Google and Apple smartwatches. What that means is that the Android Wear, these wearable devices, now have operating systems on them, and the Apple Watch, which included the launch of Apple Pay with the new iPhone. And that means that you're able to make these payments directly through an intermediary that's not a bank. So here goes Apple sort of trying to close the gap, or close the bridge between online and offline payments. Next up is Facebook started a micro apps trend, and I'm going to talk about this a little later as well. But Facebook split up their whole platform into 4 different mobile apps in the course of this 2014. So they have four apps now in the App Store. In addition to their normal Facebook app, they have Slingshot, Paper, Messenger, and Groups. And what we're seeing is that Facebook is actually trying to break up their apps so that they can, one, sort of co-brand these pieces. But the more important part is that Messenger is a specific tool. What it does is it helps you message with your friends and family. Groups helps you deal with just the groups within Facebook. Paper is just a way of being able to consume much more of the visuals. Slingshot helps you deal with the images within Facebook. So you can see here Facebook's trying to give you specific tools that still uses Facebook in the background as the platform. So micro apps, as I've called them, is this huge trend that really came onto the market in 2014. Foursquare has done it with Swarm. Dropbox has done it with Carousel. They're starting to create these other apps that do specific functions on top of their own platform. Really, really powerful stuff, and we need to pay attention to that as they grow into 2015. So with that, I want to start getting into the social marketing predictions for 2015, and I'm calling it social marketing predictions, but this is really covering social, mobile, and web marketing as an umbrella term. And so we're going to go through the 20 of them. If you have questions, feel free to ask, and we're going to get right into it. So, number one, data-driven companies will prosper like never before. What that means is that 70% of data is being created by users, okay? That's a huge amount of data that's being, we had the webinar on big data a couple of weeks ago, and the big data webinar, really talked about how businesses can take advantage of the data that's being generated on both sides, company and user. Well, if 70% of the data is being created by the user, the companies that take advantage of that 70% or more of that 70% are the ones that are going to prosper in 2015. You're really going to see a huge disparity between the businesses who don't choose to use that information and use it effectively and responsibly, and the businesses who decide to stay on the sidelines. Okay, so the first prediction and recommendation is that data-driven companies are going to prosper, and the ones who are struggling with social media and with mobile investment and those kinds of things and don't take advantage of big data are going to continue to struggle, and they're going to sit there with a question mark over their heads. So it's really powerful information that's coming to you through this engagement online, and we need to start capturing that data and using it as a business decision platform. Okay, really need to do that. So number one is really important. Number two, mobile apps will become the starting point for more small and medium-sized consumer purchases. What that means is that more mobile apps will start to, as I talked about at the top with in case you missed it, more mobile apps are going to be able to allow you to make consumer purchases, okay? And what we're seeing is a lot of the mobile apps are implementing their own abilities for you to be able to purchase within the app, have in-app purchases, and also facilitating those kinds of consumer purchases. We're not seeing that a lot on the B2B side. You're not going to buy business services through an app necessarily. Although we're seeing a lot of small businesses using mobile apps, we're not necessarily seeing a lot of in-app purchases or purchases being facilitated by mobile, but maybe we will. Okay. What I do know, though, is that consumer purchases are going to skyrocket within mobile apps. Okay. We really have a huge amount of them that are really launching and setting the stage for doing that. And some of the future predictions help this particular one. Next up is that mobile payment, or what I'm calling micropayment, is going to surface in the social mobile arena. Okay, so if you don't know what that icon is on your screen, that's actually the icon for an cryptocurrency called Bitcoin. It's a digital currency, as they're calling it. And so Bitcoin and companies like WePay, which actually just recently partnered with Meetup to allow for Meetup members to what they call chip in, which is helping these sort of small crowdfunding style payments to Meetup organizers for the purposes of helping grow meetups. Well, WePay is allowing people to make these tiny, small, payments, these micropayments that would otherwise be pretty incapable in yesteryear. You know, if you wanted to spend, if you wanted to give $1 or $2 to an organization, that really ate up a lot of the cost in doing that, and there was a high barrier to entry. That is, if I was a consumer and I wanted to, you know, pay $1, well, I had to enter my credit card information, I had to, you know, fill out all of my name and address and all that stuff. Well, if you've got it set up once in one of these micropayment platforms now, or mobile payment platforms, you know, like PayPal or WePay or whatever, you're going to now find that it's really easy because you just click a button, you know, like a Google Wallet button, and now you say, okay, I want to pay with Google Wallet, and the micropayment's done. So it's reducing that you know, Porter's Law barrier to entry tenfold for people. So we're going to see this whole mobile payment structure, this whole mobile payment infrastructure really come to life in the social mobile arena in 2015. So look out for it. Next up, do you know who this guy is? Does anybody know? I'm gonna guess some people probably know who it is. He's the recently deceased Billy Mays. You probably know him as the guy who does the infomercial for OxyClean, or did the infomercials for OxyClean. Well, when it comes to infomercials, think about infomercials, advertorials, and really for a lot of coaches and consultants who have published books, these are ways in which people, businesses, and products have created a piece of content that they are paying to distribute. You know, a book publisher has to pay for marketing and all of the, you know, stuff going out there to get the content distributed, and advertisers, that is, you know, advertisers in a newspaper, they go ahead and put in advertorials. If you've seen as seen on TV, you know, spot, those are all really just content around selling a product. Well, I believe that in 2015, content marketing in the small business marketing arena will finally become a standard marketing practice. What you're going to see is that you're going to have a lot more people doing content marketing as sort of the de facto standard. You know, there's no more, I'm going to advertise first. It's, I'm going to create content first, and then I'm going to pay for that content to be distributed. And I'm going to take my best content, and I'm going to pay to promote it. So think about this from the perspective that you put up a really great Facebook post, and now you want to be able to get a lot more people to see it. You're going to pay Facebook to promote that post. But you're going to be able to do that across almost every arena, and you're going to think about it from that perspective. So you're not going to go and say, you know what, we're going to put an advertisement in the newspaper. You're going to put a piece of content into the newspaper that's going to be the advertisement for your business. It's going to sell based on the content that's going to bring people to your website, that's going to bring people to your mobile app, and it's going to get them to then be thankful for the content that you've created so that you can then bring them closer to the brand. That's really, really powerful stuff, and I think that the standard marketing practice is really going to shift in the new year. Okay. Next up is, if you've probably seen these, I talked about this on the first slide about, you know, Apple and Google having launched smartwatches, and I believe that in 2015, wearable-based marketing is going to be here. That is, people are going to have these watches. Probably, I think the last estimate I read was something around 2019 or 2020. Almost everyone with a device on their body, it will be a piece of smart technology. You know, that includes jewelry and clothing and watches and all these other kinds of tools. Well, and probably rings. You know, think about all of these things that you have that are going to be moving with you. They're all going to be smart technology. That is, they're going to have some kind of microchip in them that's going to have a processor and be able to think and communicate with either your mobile phone or other devices around you. That being the case, where there's technology, there's going to be marketing. And I think that 2015, we're going to see the first of, you know, wearable-based marketing campaigns launching that is specifically designed for the phone you're going to see these kinds of wearable-based marketing pieces come alive, and maybe Google Glass, which has been slowly rolling out over the course of 2014, and so in 2015 we're going to start to see these wearable-based marketing campaigns really take off. So I think not just take off, arrive. I mean, we haven't really seen any, and I think that we will start to see those in the new year. Okay. Does anybody know what these apps are? The most recognizable one is probably the one on the far right, which is the Google Hangouts app. And so Google Hangouts is one that's built into the Google Gmail platform. The Google Hangouts app is also independent. It sort of sits inside of the Chrome browser, but it also has independent apps on Microsoft Windows and the Apple Macintosh platform, and then they have the mobile apps. Well, what we're going to see is a birth of new apps like WhatsApp and Viber, which is the center logo. What these apps are is an ability for you to one-to-one message with your friends, family, colleagues, contacts, pen pals across the country and the world. And what we're going to start to see now is brands adopting these tools and communicating with their customers via these apps. What we're going to see is that message app-based marketing is going to begin. Okay, so we're not only going to see wearable apps, wearable technology marketing begin, we're also going to see message app-based marketing begin. And what that means is that you as a small business owner, you're going to have to figure out how do I provide a customized, personalized experience with my audience? Is this a way in which my audience will be interested in doing that? The younger your audience, the more likely you'll have to. The older your audience, not necessarily, they won't necessarily not use this technology, especially if they have children and they're communicating with their children via a WhatsApp or a Viber. The really cool part about Viber is that Viber has a desktop application, so you can actually install this on your point-of-sale system computers in your retail office and or in your normal office, and you can basically put your Viber accounts on all the devices and now provide customer service through this platform. It allows for voice and text communication. You can actually send voice messages, that is like short little audio clips. You can send pictures and video through the platform. It's all free except for the calls. Like if you were to outbound call a number, you would have to pay for that. But you could actually
Ray, your audio has gone out.
WhatsApp is one of the most popular messaging apps in the world right now, and there are just so many users. And I think I heard a statistic yesterday at the TNW USA conference that the people who use WhatsApp, a large percentage of them use it every day. Literally, that is an app that they open every day to communicate. So, the people who are invested in them really have made them habits, okay? And that once it's a habit, it's just a part of their life, and you really need to pay attention to that as it relates to your small business marketing plans. So this is a diagram of personalized medicine, okay? And so this is really something that has grown up within the healthcare community, which is this idea of being able to customize and tailor healthcare treatment to the individual. We take your DNA, we take the medicine, we understand, all of the issues that come into and play out of you, and what medications, what comorbidity happens, all of these things that are going on in your particular life and circumstances, and then we create a personalized medicine or personalized medical treatment plan for you. Well, that is an example of segmentation marketing. Okay, that's the idea of taking this kind of I have a big marketing campaign. I want to market to all the people in my target audience, and instead of saying I want to market to all the people in my target audience. You're saying that I have sub-markets within those markets, and I want to make my own campaigns specifically tailored with content marketing to those particular markets, those particular sub-markets. The savvy business owners in 2015 will start to show greater segmentation marketing, meaning that they may decide that this particular, sub-market within their target market is going to only be communicated with on Facebook. And so that means they're going to stop talking to the rest of their market, meaning that the rest of their market may stop listening to them on Facebook. And that's exactly what they want. Okay? So if you have a particular group of people who are really listening to you, a core group of people in a particular submarket in your business, and they're paying attention to you within Twitter or within Pinterest or within Instagram, this is the time to start really focusing on them. Okay? That submarket is what you're trying to do, and tailoring all of the communications within that particular channel to that specific audience. It's going to be really important for you to think about segmentation marketing as we go into the new year. Okay, next up, Facebook is getting into the payment field, right? They're jumping into the payment field. Google has already been in the payment field for quite some time with Google Wallet. We have Apple Pay now, and PayPal and all of these other companies like Stripe and so forth are really working to create mobile payment. Well, social selling is one of those things that we've talked about at least in my world, in my industry, about really taking social media and converting it to sales. What I want for businesses, is to make sure that they're getting revenue. I want to make sure you're making money, right? Well, social selling is not necessarily the same as sales. And we have to really think about how social media brings a customer closer to us, okay, through content and engagement and listening to them. But that really ends up being consultative sales, which is a term of really, the 1990s, I think. So consultative sales came about as a means for being able to make sure that you are guiding and educating and engaging with your customer to a point where they feel like they have everything they need to sort of reduce the barriers to purchase. And I believe that social selling is really consultative sales for the 21st century. And I think that's what we're going to find, is that people are going to come back to that material. They're going to say, you know what, hey, if I just keep educating my consumers about, the use of my product and how the product works and the benefits of the product and to some extent the features, they're going to buy, because I'm the one educating them. I'm the one helping them with their product. I'm the one being able to do those customer service style discussions with them and saying, you know what, let's get onto a Google Hangout and let me help figure out what's wrong with this particular product, and so everyone else can see how that can be remedied. Well, social sales that's all social sales, and that's also consultative selling. So I think that as we go into 2015, more people are going to click into this method, and a lot more people are going to realize that social selling is just consultative sales, and that's going to help a lot of small business owners, because there's so much material out there about consultative sales that they just haven't sort of leaned on to support them in frameworks to move forward with social media. So if they use the consultative sales methods, they'll be able to take that, apply it to social media, and they'll be rock solid, good to go. So I think this is going to be really, really cool in 2015. Okay, these are all different kinds of media companies. The two to the right are specifically dealing around audio. SoundCloud is an audio hosting company, and Stitcher is a podcasting sort of radio style application and website. Well, that's because 2015 is going to be the year of the small business podcast, and if I have to single-handedly do it myself, I am going to make it so. So what we're seeing, though, is the data is showing so many new podcasts are coming on the scene. Podcasts are getting a whole new resurgence in the market, and I'm not just saying this because I happen to be a huge podcast fan. I'm a podcast listener and a podcast fan, but there are so many people listening to podcasts, and it's a huge market. And what we're going to see as people, again, they want personalized, customized experiences. More and more people have cell phones. Most people in the world have cell phones now first. They don't buy laptops as much. We're seeing so many people with a phone in their hand, and they want to be able to consume content on their own schedule, which means that they're not looking for a terrestrial radio station and there's nothing against terrestrial radio, it's just the way of the technology, but they're not looking for a radio station to dictate to them what they're going to listen to. They want to say, you know what, I want to find out about this particular information. And more importantly, they're going to start to search the internet for that content, and they're going to look for it in more multimedia fashions, and I'll talk about that shortly. But one of those things is audio and video podcasting. So what's a podcast? A podcast is basically a regularly submitted audio or video file, and there's other definitions, extensions, PDFs and other kinds of materials, but for the most part it's audio that's put into a feed and submitted to podcast directories, which means that I, as a podcast listener, can have an app like Stitcher or SoundCloud or iTunes podcast tool on my phone, and every time you submit an audio or video podcast, it just shows up in my phone for download and listening, okay? And I can listen to it on demand. I can listen to it whenever I want to. But every time a new episode comes out, it shows up in my phone. Well, if you have not, this is an absolutely fantastic time to start a podcast about your business, because what's going to happen is in 2015, as more podcast listeners come up, we have about 240 million podcast listeners right now. We'll probably eke up another 10 to 15% of that in 2015, and so we're going to see a whole host of new things happening. Alex Blumberg, who was the former producer, I believe, of This American Life, and what was the other, Money Talk, I think, on American Public Radio. But either way, he has started his own podcasting company because he sees the future of podcasting as being something very bright, especially over at least into 2015. And so I really, and podcasts can be either a series, you can do it for a year, just a year-long sort of series. You could do them for a month. You could do them for ongoing, forever. And so really, really cool stuff. And pay attention, W3 Consulting itself, we're going to be starting the Web and Beyond podcast. And we're very excited about that. So we're going to be launching our own podcast as well, and even launching a podcasting course where we'll be teaching people how to podcast. So podcasting is going to be really, really important in 2015. So pay attention. Okay, next up, it's that consumer and small business content curation is going to get a little bit of steroid treatment. This is going to be really, really powerful, but what we're going to see is that consumers are overwhelmed with content. They're just getting so much media from all ends coming at them, and it's really difficult to pay attention to the right things. And we're seeing a lot of companies. We're seeing several startups and other larger media companies that are basically saying, hey, let's figure out a way to curate this content so that when I come to whatever my outlet is, I get the right information in front of me. And so that creates two things. One, it creates a great opportunity for small businesses to curate content that's out there. That means there's tons of content out there. All you need to do is find the right content for your audience and collect it together so that they're able to look at it and understand it and know that you're the one, who is providing it to them, which is really powerful, right? Because if you're the go-to person for all the content in this particular arena, then I don't have to do as much work myself as an individual. That helps the many in your target audience, and they're going to be much more likely to come to you for everything that you say. So that when you slide in a little bit of marketing about your business, it's an easy offset. It's an easy cost-benefit analysis for the consumer, because if 9 times out of 10 you're giving me great content, and then the 10th time out of 10 it's a really amazing piece of content that also markets your business, well, I'm going to consume that just as well. Okay, so we're going to see more investment in applications like Buffer. If you don't use Buffer, it's bufferapp.com, and it's a fantastic social media curation tool. And then on the other side is Hootsuite. As a disclaimer, I'm a Hootsuite ambassador and an affiliate program manager, member, but Hootsuite is a fantastic social media dashboard tool, and Hootsuite allows you to put all of your social media outlets into Hootsuite, and then you can publish from them, and you can schedule, and you can auto-schedule. But one of the really cool tools is that you can actually put in all of the various feeds that are of interest to you. Maybe it's 5 or 6 blogs in your industry, and they're just absolutely the best blogs out there. Well, you can take those, put them as different feeds within your dashboard inside one of the tabs, and say, okay, once a week I'm going to go through and I'm going to look at all 5 blogs and see what posts they've put out, and schedule those posts to go out over the course of the next week, so that your audience sees tweets and Google Plus posts and Facebook posts and Pinterest posts that are all about, are all curated by you. You're going to take the best of those particular blogs and put them into your one feed. So in essence, if I were following those 5 blogs as an audience member, and now you were doing that in one feed, yours, well, I have to do less work, right? I have to do 5 times less work by just watching and following your feed. So really, really powerful if you can do that kind of stuff, and Hootsuite allows you to do that, and so does Buffer. So really think about how you're going to use curation tools to be able to get information in front of your audience. And what that means is you don't have to create as much content, because very similar to Reuters, I mean, again, this is not rocket science, right? This is just like Reuters. Most of the news that you see every day is repurposed content from larger syndicated news, and a lot of that is also commentary on the news. Okay, so your audience is probably looking for, what do you think as a subject matter expert or a thought leader about the content being published? Because I see a lot of the same content, but if you're providing this additional value, which is your thoughts and your ideas about their specific needs and wants, then that's going to be really powerful for them. Okay, so one side is consumers have lots of static. You as a small business owner have new tools coming on board to help you reduce the static and provide them with pristine focus with your commentary. So really, really powerful, and this is the time to do it as we lead into 2015. Next up is number 11 and 12. So 11 is that small business web and mobile tools are going to become mainstream. What I mean by that is that there was a recent survey that was done, and it asked small business owners whether or not they used mobile apps in the management of their business. And by and large, small businesses are doing it, which is fantastic. Well, this is paired with the fact that 60% of small businesses, and something around that, probably 50-something% now, but more than 50% at least, don't have a website. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, but it's reality. So what we're going to see, though, is a pairing of the two of those, that web and mobile tools together are actually going to become mainstream. We're actually going to see more small businesses launching websites by virtue of mobile tools. And that's, I mean, 2015 is going to be great for small business. I'm really excited about it, because this means that the small business owner that comes to me and says, Ray, I need a web and mobile strategy, I don't know how to do social, I can provide them with so many more tools that actually can walk around in their pocket. So they don't feel like they have to be stuck to their desk for hours and hours and hours to generate the web presence that's going to bring them business. They're going to be able to, download the appropriate and specific apps that are necessary to make sure that your business is running full scale forward, whether that be on a web tool or a mobile tool, but primarily you're going to be able to do that from mobile devices. It's going to be really cool. Number 12 is actually a really bizarre one, but it makes a lot of sense. So number 12 is a quote that I got from my research, and this is Joe Pulizzi, and Joe Pulizzi is the founder of Content Marketing Institute, and he says that there will be a surge of print magazines from B2B brands, business-to-business brands. So what he's saying is that we're going to get more print in business to business, which is just so crazy, but it makes total sense. So think about it. Over the last couple of years, we've seen this, surge of online media and email marketing. Email marketing is absolutely amazingly effective in the consumer world and also as well in the business to business world. But we go back to number 10. We have so much content coming at us in digital now that we're going to see some B2B companies say, you know what, we're going to go back to some print advertising. Think about the resurgence of direct mail marketing in B2B when email marketing was really, really big, okay, which was like 2 or 3 years ago. We saw this direct mail marketing resurgence for a while because we saw people starting to think, whoa, I never get mail. The postal service actually showed up with mail. That's great. And in that was now a piece of marketing or advertising. That's really powerful stuff because you're getting through all of the chafe. So I think that in this particular case, B2B brands are seeing an opportunity here to put out their print materials to B2B brands and be seen. So be on the lookout for it in 2015. So I've reached a point where if there are any questions, feel free to pipe in. I'm here to answer questions. If you have any other thoughts about any of these, we're here for you. So please feel free to pop in.
We don't have any questions at this point, so we'll keep going until we get some.
Okay, great. Well, that means I'm right. No, these are funny because these are predictions, but they're also sometimes hopes. I want people to be able to understand a lot of this material. So, but number 13 really is much more of a just watching the trend grow, okay? So 2015, as you can see from the first 12, and you'll see over the balance of the rest of them, it's really watching trends that have been happening continue to grow, okay? And so number 13 is that mixed multimedia content marketing strategy is going to start to broadcast across multiple channels, and that means it's just going to become the normative marketing for small business. So right now we see this with big brands. Nike is on everything, right? They're in every media. They have their own social network. They have their own campaigns for each one of those. They've got a huge staff to be able to manage all of that stuff, and that's really great. But what we're going to see on the small business level is more small businesses adopting mixed multimedia content marketing strategy across multiple channels. What that means is that you're going to have a blog plus a YouTube channel, and you're going to have a blog plus a podcast, or you'll have a Tumblr plus a SlideShare, and you're going to be able to produce content in multiple venues and then distribute that and syndicate that to multiple other channels, okay? So it's really about where the number of types of content that you're creating. So once upon a time, it was just create a blog and create lots of text, posts with really great feature images, and the business will come. Well, what we're going to see in 2015 is more businesses realizing that there's lots of different search opportunities to be found, which is publishing a mobile app is a place where you're putting media in a search engine. Remember, the app stores, the Google Play Store, the Apple App Store, the Windows App Store, the BlackBerry World App Store, whatever that's called. It's still hanging around. It is and has its own search functionality, and your business can be found in it. So think about that from podcasts. Think about that in YouTube. Think about that on Facebook. Well, all of those search opportunities are that if you're creating content directly in there and you're investing in them, that's going to be really powerful for your small business. But it's all about using mixed multimedia across those channels, and as few as you need to in order to be able to get the revenue you need, So you don't want to have to invest in creating a YouTube channel and a podcast and a blog, Maybe just 2 of them are necessary. Maybe you just need to invest in really great visual imagery on Instagram and engaging your audience there and producing a really great blog, okay? So I still think the blog is going to be an anchor for social media, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be the end-all, be-all for a full content marketing strategy now for small business. We're going to see a lot more small businesses investing in this kind of mixed channel marketing. Okay. Next up, we have listening finally taking hold. And this is, again, more of a hope than a prediction. But social listening is the idea of searching for and paying attention to conversations about your brand, of your customers and target audience, and engaging with them on that level. Then, of course, extending beyond that is commenting on what we call social commentary, commenting on, posts on other platforms that have already that already have your audience. So this is going to extend more because it's going to happen in the social mobile space. That is, you're going to see much more of the small businesses interacting on mobile directly within social media than ever before. Okay, so all the data supports this. We're going to see much more of the small businesses going out there and paying attention to what's happening in social on mobile, and tools like Social Mention. But really, Hootsuite is another one of those tools where you can just set up all the searches that you need right there within Hootsuite, and now you can just pay attention. When something pops up, it'll give you a notification. You can go in there, respond to your customers, respond to your target audience, give information, clarify, and broadcast your blog posts by social commentary. Really, really powerful. But this is the time that, the case has already been tried in every marketing court, and the decision has been set that social listening is important, and now it's going to broadcast itself onto social mobile in 2015. So pay heed, take heed. Number 15. Number 15 is something that I picked up from Media Bistro, which is that online advertising has been increasing, over the last several years, and that's to be expected. So 2015 will have more online advertising. No big surprise there. But what's really cool is that mobile ad spend is going to explode in 2015. If the data is right, the statistics show us that we're going to have a huge explosion in mobile ad spend. That means that more small businesses are going to be spending in and on mobile devices. This covers SMS ads, that is direct advertising from an SMS marketing campaign, or direct from you text messaging a customer. Search ads on mobile, so display ads on mobile, and then mobile website and mobile app display advertising. So across all four of those arenas, you're going to see huge amounts of growth in advertising. So if you're B2B, pay attention to this. If you're B2C, pay more attention to this. Okay, we're going to see a lot more in B2C with the explosion of mobile ad spend. The primary reason is because so many less people are clicking on online ads on normal devices, so on desktops and computers, laptops and so forth. So we're seeing those online ad clicks reducing, even though more advertising is being put out there, and that probably is one reason why the clicks are reducing, is because there's more ads. But the other side is that so many more people are spending their time on mobile that businesses are paying attention to that, and they're putting more ads where they'll show up on the phones. So be prepared. Mobile ad spend is going to go gangbusters in the coming year. So if you haven't seen this logo yet, it is supposed to be a little smiley face, but it's supposed to represent the anti-Facebook, okay? And this is the social network Ello, okay, which is E-L-L-O, like hello, but without the H. And so Ello was created to be able to counteract some of the anti-Facebook, issues that have sort of cropped up in the last couple of years. Privacy issues, sharing your content with advertisers, and lack of security within the network, and so on and so forth. Well, Ello is just one of a few social networks like Zylch, which is supposed to be sort of a minimalist style social network, and others are going to try to make power plays into the market. Okay, so for small business, what I recommend is that you pay attention, but really to invest in those social networks before they are, going to be any use to you, I would say would be foolish. So what you should do is that if you see a new social network come out in 2015, I want you to secure your username or profile name or account so that you have it. And then save the username and password and the email address you signed up with it in your password manager and call it a day. Okay? But 2015 is not the year for some breakout social network to launch and take off and grow. We've already got Snapchat and Instagram and several others that are in that growth phase. And they're really going to be dominant through 2015. We're not going to see much change there, and all this talk about Google Plus going away. Yes, there's always an opportunity for Google Plus to go away, but at this point, it's not going to happen in 2015. Google Plus is a huge piece of infrastructure central to Google's whole system. I mean, it's really an identity service. So the social component to it, I mean, really, we should just take social network off of the title of Google Plus, even though in a great deal, there's a very vibrant community and it's grown exponentially. The idea of social networks being blockbusters in 2015 is really a dead issue. Okay, so we're just going to let those be dead on arrival and call it a day. But what we should take note of is that when we're talking about social networks, many of the current social networks they're gonna go into the micro app world, okay, like I talked about at the beginning. So they're gonna do like Facebook, and they're gonna start to create individualized functionality that you're gonna want to take. So what is Ello gonna create for you that's gonna be very individualized in terms of functionality? Okay, are they gonna excel at just text, private messaging or private sharing? We've seen several other platforms and networks not really go anywhere with that. EveryMe, which was a really fantastic platform, really tried to make inroads here, and so on and so forth. So we'll see whether or not 2015 is going to do that. But right now, I think that a lot of social networks are just going to, continue on the way they are. The Facebooks and the Twitters and the YouTubes of the world are just going to still stay dominant. Okay? I see that we have a question.
We do, Ray. I've heard some thought leaders suggest using Snapchat for business. What are your thoughts and suggestions on how to use Snapchat?
It really depends on your business. Okay? So, for myself, I am not a Snapchat user. I have the application. I pay attention to the trends, and what we're seeing is a huge amount of usage. Until Snapchat creates a platform that allows for solid business marketing, I don't see a lot of opportunity there unless your business is really infrastructure-wise structured so that you can have that kind of one-to-one engagement with your users. Okay, so you have to have a lot of infrastructure to be able to really deal with a Snapchat kind of environment. So I believe a Nike or a larger brand is going to be able to make really great inroads on Snapchat. But if you're already interacting on Instagram and those kinds of things, that's going to be much more important to sales, because you're going to be able to bring traffic to your website through effective, methods. Okay, and even Instagram is sort of crippling a small business, because while it drives a lot of traffic, that traffic is hard earned. Okay, because you're having to display your URLs and all sorts of other things in static content. They're not clickable links, okay? So you really have to, you only have one link you can show an Instagram profile. So you have that one link in your profile, and you've got to direct your folks to it, okay? Snapchat's even less than that, because you can put text on the image, and you're sharing one-to-one, right? And that's really powerful. And as I said before, one-to-one personalized messaging is going to be there. But you have to really be able to manage that with infrastructure, okay? So what I like about a WhatsApp or a Viber is that you're able to one-to-one communicate in multiple media, which means you're not expected to have to take imagery. But if you're in a Snapchat environment where imagery is the primary and then text is the secondary, well then, what content are you going to create individualized on the fly to be able to engage your audience? I just don't see as much value there, but I may be wrong for the in the margins, but in the vast majority, I think that I'm right. I think that the bigger swath of small businesses won't really see much play there. Okay, next up is Facebook ads will become more expensive. Okay, so Facebook has been doing a couple of things. They're changing their algorithm for organic reach and all these other things. And what we're going to see is that Facebook ads are just going to become more expensive. I mean, period. All right. So pay attention to that. That's going to gauge how many more times you promote a post. That means how many more times you're going to put an ad onto Facebook. Facebook is a publicly traded company now. I was against it and still am, and this is one of the reasons why. I mean, you're going to see you're going to see a company that has to pimp itself out, and here it is. It's going to try every avenue to be able to make more money. This is not a surprise. They did this in 2013 into 2014. They increased their ad rates, and they're going to do that again. All right. So we're going to see Facebook become more expensive, which means just pay attention to the ads you're going to put out there. Okay. So they're going to be the most important ads instead of putting out an ad all the time. The same thing with Twitter ads. Twitter, launched Twitter ads, and Twitter went IPO in September 2013. And so, Twitter is a platform that, now needs to show Wall Street and its investors money, okay? It needs a business model. And it thinks that advertising is that mechanism. I'm not quite sure they're right. And again, I'm against it. I think that if Twitter were to find another means for revenue models, they would do better. But we're at that place. Twitter's going to charge for being able to put tweets into the feed, and they are. Twitter ads are very powerful, and the really cool part about Twitter ads, though, I will admit, is, like I said in case you missed it, is the buy now button. And also, if you effectively set up these Twitter cards, these Twitter ads, you can actually get Twitter to have someone subscribe automatically to an email list directly from a tweet. All right, so the tweet shows up and it says, check out my newsletter, some kind of value proposition, plus you get my free download of, some kind of ebook or guide or white paper or checklist. You click on the subscribe, and now Twitter pulls your email address and automatically adds it to, pulls the consumer's email address and automatically adds it to your business's email marketing software and gets them into the sales funnel. So that's really powerful, and I think that it'll be great. But it's just a to be determined. But Twitter ads are definitely a 2015 push that Twitter's going to make. They're going to want to be able to really increase that revenue so that they can have a blockbuster year and show Wall Street and its investors that it was a worthy move to go IPO. All right, next up is that LinkedIn is just going to stay the B2B tour de force, and as well they're going to stay the professional social network to be. It's funny, I was just having a conversation with I have a younger brother, and I have two younger brothers and an older one, but one of the younger brothers said that he didn't have a LinkedIn profile, and of course, once the mortified look came off my face, I I said, "Oh, you have to get one." And his concern was that my dad was on it, and he was like, "Well, I don't want to potentially interact with my dad on a professional network. That's my dad," and so on and so forth. And so you can see that there was some reticence at the outset of that, but then immediately the shift was, in his millennial mind was, "But I need to get my resume out there for the world, for job growth purposes." So what millennials are seeing is that, yes, their parents are on social networks. Yes, there are friends on social networks, but the professional nature of LinkedIn and its new app Connected, which is the second logo that you see on screen, is all about being able to gain that professional and employment growth within it. So that's what LinkedIn's there for, and you're going to see LinkedIn just maintain dominance as a B2B social network, and we're going to see them grow in numbers, and really there's not going to be any There's not going to be anyone who really comes in and tries to steal their game. They're too dominant. The CEO, Jeff Weiner, and his team have made a really rock solid business model, and so they've been profitable from a very early stage within their growth, and so there's not many people who can really step in and take the day there. Okay, next up, and my final prediction is that apps will become the new mall. Okay, and so the app on screen is an app called Spring, and they launched in 2013 very secretively, and as you can see at the very bottom of the first screenshot, you can see there's a swipe to pay. Now what Spring did was they went out and they went to the 200 largest brands in the world. Most of them have retail mall stores, and they said, let's put all this inventory into one app so that people can buy directly from there. Now it's not just fashion, but that's their primary focus right now. But you're going to see this across all mall stores basically. So they're going after these big brands who would normally have a foot traffic based sales model, and they're bringing it to the app. What this means for small businesses is that Big Box is going to use a Spring or a Fancy app or those kinds of apps that really bring together big brands. But the small business, the folks on Main Street are going to have to really figure out how apps work in terms of the strip malls that you see on in everyday life. So when you're driving past a strip mall, those are things that are far more commodity based and unique and tailored to provide services and products on a local level. So apps are going to become for small businesses, apps are going to become the new strip mall, okay, as opposed to big apps like Spring and Fancy and so on and so forth that are going to be the big malls, all right? So we really need to think about how your apps, if you're going to launch a mobile app, and that's going to be important in 2015, but how you actually design the app so that it's searchable within the app stores, so when someone comes to the app store, they can type in a need or a want, and your app is going to be able to provide that function, okay, which is giving them that product or service locally, all right? So if you're a family counselor, how is your mobile app being found so that someone comes to it and says, I want to book family counseling services, right? If you're a local shoe repair company, then you want to make sure that yours has both the jurisdictions that you cover, you want to make it local, basically local search optimized, but within the App Store. And then how are you going to interact with those people? Very similar to, you sometimes in these malls you have the staff that sort of stand in the doorway and greet you and that kind of thing. Well, app notifications are becoming the new mall greeters, okay? They're going to be standing in the doorways of the app, and it's their way of saying, oh, hey, how's it going? What's going on? How can I help you? That kind of thing. So really figuring out how those work is going to be very, very powerful over the next year, okay, and into the following years. And so we're going to really see them do that. And then also, finally, is that we're going to see how small businesses invest in already existing platforms like Google Shopping, Amazon, and eBay. Amazon and eBay are the two largest, mobile payment apps out there right now. People spend, that is places, m-commerce apps where people are spending money in them the most, and Amazon and eBay are those. So how are you as a small business owner going to be able to invest in getting yourself exposed within those networks, okay? On Amazon, that might be commenting on products, all right? Even if you're a service-based business and you want to comment on the products within Amazon. If on eBay, that means maybe putting out products or services within eBay on eBay as a means for just exposing yourself. They might be loss leaders, but they are ways to expose yourself. And then as well, interacting and engaging with the online seller of products so that you can pair a product for sale on eBay with a service. Okay, so if you buy this product on eBay and you win the eBay item, then you get this service. Well, what that does is it not only exposes you to everyone who's looking at the product, but then you also get a new customer when the person wins that sale. So really, really cool stuff there as well. So now's the time for some Q&A. We have a couple minutes left, and I just want to answer any questions that you guys might have, and then we'll close out. So, Tracy, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Sure.
Otherwise, we'll close out and just wait for folks.
With Facebook continuing to lower the ranking of pages, okay, let me start over since I'm not doing well today reading. With Facebook continuing to lower the ranking of pages updates in their Open Graph algorithm and many predicting for it to stop sharing page posts together in 2015 without paying for each post, how do you think small businesses find value in Facebook?
Well, it comes down to the reality that you're going to have to educate your audience on Facebook on how to engage with you on Facebook if that's the way that you want to primarily engage with them, okay? So if you have an audience already there and you're engaging well with them, very little will change in 2015, okay? Very little. Because you're going to be able to say to them, go to, X little widget on, little button here, drag down, make sure that I show up in this particular feed. You can walk them through tutorial-wise how to make sure they know how to make sure all of your posts show up in their feed. And there are means to do that, okay? So you can say, I always want Facebook page posts from this particular page to show up in my feed, period, okay? So you're going to educate them. Number two is that, as I've said ad nauseum, and I will continue to say this, is that sales happen on your website, via email, and offline. They don't happen, by and large, on Facebook, okay? And that might be changing because Facebook's going to add a buy button and so on and so forth, and that's going to just challenge my statement here, and it's not going to change my statement, by the way. But the reality is that you need to break people of their Facebook addiction so that you can make sales. So, yeah, someone might buy from you from Facebook. Is that going to be a one-time purchase, or is that going to be a regular repeat customer? Is it important for you to be able to control your brand? If that's the case, then you need to be getting them out of Facebook and onto an email list so that you can control the communications that you have with them one-to-one. So if you're nervous about Facebook's changes, I would say convert your strategy to one of A, having a great web and mobile website set up, 2, having an email list set up, 3, having some kind of digital download from your website that's of value enough to your audience that they'll want to give up their email address in order to download it. You put that digital download in and on your website in some way, shape, or form that's sort of secret, so you're putting it on your website in a place that it's not shown, but really it just means that it's not indexed by Google. Person signs up for email, then they get a link to your digital download. Reverse that now when you go to Facebook, you're now promoting once in a while. I mean, you could actually put it at the bottom of every one of your posts, which is what I would probably do, and say, hey, by the way, I have this digital download. It's always available. All you have to do is sign up for our email. Now, the email list starts them on the sales process, okay? And you can use this in all the major email softwares. They have these things called autoresponders, and they basically go ahead and set up a staged passive sales process. So, hey, you downloaded our digital content. Did you know that I have an ebook? Hey, you downloaded our digital content. Are you interested in a 30-minute initial consultation? Hey, you downloaded our video on how to do X. By the way, we have these 3 new products available for sale in the store. Keep giving them an opportunity to be exposed one-to-one with your business, with your own branding face forward, versus Facebook's branding up front. I think that's going to be the great solution to much of what Facebook is doing in the new year.
Thanks, Ray. I have a question. You mentioned password management and a system. Do you have a recommendation for a good password management system? It's a question I get asked a lot.
Sure. There are several of them out there. The 3 major ones on the market that I know of are 1Password, and that's a primarily iOS Mac sort of basis, but I know that they are cross-platform in some way, shape, or form, I think. So there's 1Password for the Mac folks. On the cross-platform side, there's Dashlane and KeePass, which is Keepass, and most recently I have been using an application called Clef. Now Clef is really cool. I'm going to jump out of here and actually go to it so that you can see Clef, because Clef is just really amazing. So Clef allows you to, let me just go here, get Clef. So Clef is a visual-based two-factor authentication, and what it does is it shows this. Let me see if I can get it to show on screen. But you basically have your phone, and the application itself. You just hold up the Clef app in front of. I'm not going to show this. You can see this. So you can see how the app is showing that little moving barcode. Well, you actually set up, in this case, I have it implemented on my WordPress website, all of my websites now. And so all I have to do is pull up the Clef app on my phone and hold it up to the screen that's showing its own little, moving bar, and it opens the website. Done. And so you don't have passwords or tokens or anything like that anymore. It's free. And so then there's an application called Waltz that is an extension for your browser, and you implement the extension, and now every website that you have, you just use Clef. And so Clef is actually timed, so you can have it set up so that all the websites you're logged into, you can be logged in for 24 hours, 30 hours, 50 hours, whatever it might be. It counts down, and then it shuts them all off. But say you went to a library and logged into your Google account, and you get home and you're like, oh, I left myself logged into my Google account at the library. You just log into the Clef application, you click log out, and it automatically logs you out of Clef remotely. So logs you out of Google remotely. So it can manage remotely all of these logins, all of them in your system, from this one application, and you don't have to remember passwords anymore. Really, really fantastic tool. So Dashlane, 1Password, KeePass, Clef. Those are my options.
Thank you. One last question, then we'll close up. Do you have a recommendation for a email list newsletter service, MailChimp, Constant Contact, others?
Sure. So my favorite for many years was iContact, which was run by Ryan Alice, the CEO, and now they're owned by Volusion, which is, I think, also the company that owns Infusionsoft. I'm not sure. I think they own another company. But either way, so iContact, Constant Contact, and MailChimp are pretty much the big players in the market. And if you want to look local, there's actually one out of Maryland, which is Emma Email Marketing. And Emma is, again, one of these applications that they allow you to do a whole slew of sophisticated things. If you need it to be really sophisticated, then I would look at Aweber. Like if you're really thinking about something it costs quite a bit more money, but Aweber is a very sophisticated tool that has a lot of different bells and whistles. But most small businesses really will be satisfied by the main tickets of a Constant Contact, an iContact, or MailChimp. So look at the different services, look at the different options. All of them provide you with a free trial, so it's worth it to just try it out and see how it feels to you. I was talking to someone the other day, and they said, oh, I was really confused by MailChimp. And while I thought MailChimp was brilliantly simple looking, it was confusing to this person. And I think that the Constant Contact interface is, a little bit confusing to me, and to everyone else in the world who looks at it, they're like, oh, that's really easy. So that's, it's just a matter of how we all personally look at things. They're going to do generally the same, service in the background, but some of them have different tweaks and bells and whistles. iContact, Constant Contact, both of them have social components to them so that you can actually post to social from them, and some other things that are really good, email archiving and those kinds of things. Remember that if you're doing email newsletters that are not just email marketing, like I talked about earlier, which with autoresponders, but if you're actually producing full-scale articles and content in the emails, you should be archiving those on your website, folks. That's going to create more content for Google to see. So make sure that everything is time and date stamped so that, if you have a deal that's time-based, expires on X date, make sure it says that in the newsletter, but then archive that bad boy on your website, because you're now creating a new web page on your website. The more web pages, the more Google can index you, the more traffic means more business. So if the email service doesn't allow for that, you need to make sure that you're doing that yourself.
Thanks, Ray. Thanks, everyone, for participating today. Today's webinar was recorded and will be posted on the Virginia SBDC website under live webinars and recordings. Happy holidays to everyone, and we'll see you in 2015.
Take care, everybody.